Well, hello, afternoon. We're here for our midweek alchemy message where we are unpacking our approach to this week's lessons. And our message today really ties into the new moon workshop that I did yesterday. It's funny. Sometimes I feel like my tech gear kind of like is empathic to like how I'm feeling. And yesterday I was feeling really under the weather. And it took forever for my workshop to upload. So that's up. That's got a lot of interesting and helpful information that's going to apply to the next month and the next 2 weeks in the waxing period. And so it will be valuable to like go back and watch that video when you have time. I ate some chocolate covered almonds quickly as a snack, and so now they're coming loose in my teeth. So forgive me if I seem out of body and distracted. So let us begin. Our first card from the Wild Unknown Alchemy deck is Blood, followed by the Sun, followed by Vinegar. Underneath Blood, we have Justice. Underneath the Sun, we have the feminine King of Swords. And underneath Vinegar, we have the Chariot. Awesome. I'm going to let you guys listen to the audio really quick and look at the cards and the layout, and then we'll come back and unpack each one. When the temple was first destroyed, the curtain bled. When we waste our energy and light and resources on things that are not in alignment with our purpose or the desire and calling of the soul, we bleed out our light and life force, spilling out our creative potency and weakening our magnetism. Our vessel is damaged and cannot as effectively channel the light of the Creator into this world. We've learned how energy vampires can drain us, or negative environments, but there are many ways our energy is drained by our own actions, choices, and consciousness. The bitter aspects of life can serve to bring about transformation, growth, healing, understanding, strength, compassion, and depth. But clinging to the wrong consciousness can cause the bitterness to overpower everything and mask our light. During these 9 days, we get to decisively choose. Are we a servant of the ego, shrouding our vessel in darkness? Or do we rise even within the darkness, remaining vigilant to be a channel for the light, serving the Creator through acts and thoughts of kindness and sharing, even during the difficult times? Can we be courageous and have integrity when the authentic truth challenges the status quo? How we show up during these times of difficulty and uncertainty are true indicators of who we really are. It's easy to be patient and generous and kind when you feel secure and fulfilled and conditions are favorable. It's easy to speak the truth when you think there will be no consequences or backlash. It's an entirely different level when you can still be a light when under pressure. There's also one other thing to consider during this time, these 9 days of Av, which are the first 9 days of Leo, is that when we judge, we are then judged. When we think that everything should be fair, even though we might be correct, we cause the angels to then look at us to see if all the mercy that we have received was indeed fair, or if we should have paid the full price for our mistakes. So when we look at someone else and think that they're receiving too much mercy, then that causes us to lose mercy when the angels turn their focus to see what we've been up to. But when you are merciful, you protect yourself with mercy. It's the same. It's ingoing and outgoing. We either vibrate with judgment or we're vibrating with mercy. And so when we judge others, we are then judged. And when we are merciful to others, then that protects us with mercy. Okay, so I think I briefly mentioned this recently, but it bears repeating. So we're this period in the midst of the 3 weeks, the 3 most difficult weeks of the year, called the 9 days of Av. And that is the first 9 days of Leo, beginning at the Leo or the new moon that starts the month of Leo, which we just had. It was the Gregorian Cancer moon, but the Kabbalistic Leo moon that we just had yesterday. So that starts day 1 of 9. And on the 9th day of Leo marks the first destruction of the temple. And when that happened, it is said that the temple curtain was torn and it actually bled, like when a statue of Mary or something cries and weeps blood. Like the curtain was torn and it bled. And what that means is that it represents how we waste our energy or how we pour out our life force in inappropriate ways, or ways that waste our creative power, waste our purpose, waste our true inner light, and either distract that attention and resources and time and energy on other things, or do things that dissipate the power that we have. And so that can be through many things. Just thinking of Marie Kondo, her concept of how to declutter your closet and the things that you have in order to get rid of all that physical clutter and baggage. Look at it and say, what's bringing me joy? What's not serving me? Then I need to let it go. I need to release it. So it's like, similarly, we are letting go of the things that are maybe costing us our energy and our time and our potency that we don't realize. And, people do it all the time in terms of finances, right? Let's look at the subscriptions we aren't using. Let's look at this and that. But you can really take care to go through each, significant pillar of your life, and even each aspect of your personality and each aspect of your tikkun. Where could you fine tune these things that would actually empower your vessel to be a greater channel of light through the Creator, instead of spilling our energy. And think about too how one of the lessons of Cancer, right? So we have like the sun and the moon back to back in Cancer and Leo in this time of overlap. And so Cancer has these open, empathic boundaries that sometimes cause them to leak out their energy as empaths in situations and environments that are draining, or around people that are draining, right? We kind of are aware of the idea of like an energy vampire, but those kinds of things are all over the place all the time, and hiding, out in sheep's clothing within our life, and we don't recognize them, including in ways that we judge others, or we judge situations, we judge circumstances. And even though it might seem right and moral and just, what we do is, the verse, judge not lest ye be judged. It's like when we put our eye of judgment on outside of us, then that causes the angels to then pull up our file and do like a spiritual audit. Because if we say, okay, this needs to be fair, this needs to be just, then that also means that that same level of judgment is going to be reflected back on us for any mistake that we have done. Like, we'll have to live under that same level of scrutiny. Whereas having a merciful attitude and being, spiritually generous, does not put us in under the eye of judgment, but actually shields us under the energy of mercy. And so trying to break the ego in order for it to be effortless to obviously choose that consciousness would be ideal, but it's not. It's part of our work here on earth. So knowing that we're spilling our energy, and we're like signing ourselves up to go through the difficult package every time we cast judgment, regardless of whether or not we're correct or justified. It's just expending our energy in ways where we could be a vessel of building and creation and repair, rather than expending our energy in the negative, or feeding the negative dragon, or feeding what we don't want to grow through putting all that energy into it, but rather be the solution, be the gift, be the light. And that ultimately is what allows our connection to stay strong with the Creator. Because so for instance, this time of these 3 weeks, the light is so intense that the Shina, the feminine presence of the Creator that's nurturing and protective, isn't even here. These days are so negative that extra protection of the light isn't around us. So the only thing that's really protecting us from going through chaos and upheaval right now is our own level of mercy and understanding and gentleness that we're able to restrict ourselves to choose to practice during this time. So remember from the lunation video, forgiveness is what is being asked for. So forgiveness is what is being asked for. It's that energy cleanse, that emotional, spiritual purification, that release, that lets go of that thing that's draining your spiritual battery, and kind of casting a shadow on everything and holding you back the most. And so here we have the sun, Leo, right? Our life force. This hand is like reaching up to source and allowing that source to charge the hand, right? Our hand of receiving that vitality. But that can be channeled, as well as our antenna can be a receptive vessel. And in order to receive the light of the Creator, we have to tune into that channel, that radio dial, right? We have to bear affinity with that vibrationally in order to connect with the signal and channel that through our antenna. So the right consciousness, as we go through, right, we have the feminine King of Swords. The masculine King of Swords is in his authority. He's stoic. He is like hyper logical, and he is all about justice. He represents the government and justice, and the justice of this world system. But the feminine king, the mastered feminine and masculine, this represents the union of both. The merciful, the compassionate, the understanding, the unconditional love, and the ability to practice sometimes difficult love, as well as sweet, fun love, tough love, as well as gentle love, but both are in balance so that strength and mercy apply. Right? So we're not so merciful as to be preyed upon and lets evil run rampant, but we are not so exacting that we think that it's us that is going to get in there and save the world as the Messiah. We need to channel the light, and we need to do everything we can to make sure that we're a good antenna and that we can channel the light within ourselves. But ultimately, the spiritual path is not about being able to identify what's wrong outside of you in everyone else, but rather turn it back and keep looking for what you can improve, what you can transform, what you can heal, what you can discover within you, right? And so part of that's coming out right now is us being antagonized and seeing, the most crummy little, selfish inclinations that are left clinging to our ego, clinging to the delicious justification, instant gratification under financial pressure. You want to, protect yourself and hold on to your resources and not be as generous, not be as sharing. And it's like, this is when we have to challenge ourselves to be that king and queen energy that is all about being the spiritual leader and taking that leadership role in being that vessel of benevolence and sharing, and ordering the kingdom, right? And keeping it in order and taking care of the needs of our household and the needs of our kingdom. And so we have vinegar here, which always reminds me of like pickling, like things like in the South, when this summertime, when certain things are in season, people have like they'll be making certain jellies or pickles or pickling and canning things this time of year. And so in a way, vinegar can help preserve and enhance the flavor and enjoyment of things in life. It can bring out those bitter experiences, can bring out more depth in a person, more understanding, greater sense of humor, greater grace and ease with oneself. The people that never are challenged, they don't have any hardship. They're so shallow and spoiled, so many times. So some vinegar, when we can experience this with the right perspective, can really be the fuel that motivates our positive advancement in this world and a healthy ego, to take up space and to have something to say and to have that desire to go after something, to receive, but not to receive for the self-aggrandizement, but for the sake of sharing and being that channel, right? But if vinegar of that bitterness and sourness and resentment, takes hold, it can also shroud and shadow you and be sort of like this overpowering influence over everything that just affects everything you do, and it affects the experiences you have and the way that you perceive everything. If you have too much vinegar in a space, you're like, oh, it's all you can smell, it's all you can taste. It's like your eyes start to water. It completely like dominates the experience of the space you're in, right? So if you have all of this built up resentment and bitterness that you can't let go of, it's not hurting anyone else but you, right? So it's slowing you down. So the key is, the work here is to stay focused on maintaining that connection with the Creator, by continuing to allow the shells of the ego to chip away and to melt away and dissolve away, revealing more and more light. And just think of yourself as, are you dialing into the station of the Creator? Are you going to be able to attune to this frequency? Or are you so off that you're not going to get a clear connection, and how bad does your ego want that thing that is worth having a broken connection with the frequency of the Creator, and so then it just starts to become about practicality, and so there we have it, y'all. That is all for today. I will see y'all tomorrow for our weekly romance oracle message. Until then, peace.